All right, well, let's get started. We'll start by saying good morning to everybody, to the students from all over Nova Scotia joining us this morning to talk about the future and to have some fun making something along the way as well. My name is Jeff Henniger, and I'm a teacher in the Halifax area working with Brilliant Labs.
I'm Sarah Ryan. I am a Brilliant Labs program director for Nova Scotia, and we are so excited to be doing another live show with you.
Yeah, these have been a lot of fun, so I'm glad to be back as well. And we got lots of teachers on the call with us here this morning as well, so thank you all for joining us.
We're really excited today because we are, even though we are in 2021, we are talking to our future selves. We're going to be making a little, like to call it a bookmark, whether it's for today, this week, this month, or this year, to kind of highlight what has been going on for us and our family, our community, as much as we want to expand upon that. And I'm not sure if you've had a chance to gather things at home or if you're going to do this later, but we're really excited to make this. It's been a very different year for us, but we're going to highlight that. So looking back in 2, 3, 4, or 5 years, we'll have a great representation of how this has been for us.
Yeah, it's kind of fun to think ahead too, and to think about what ourselves are going to be like in the future. And if you could tell yourself something in the future, if you could like send a message to your future self, what would you want to say?
I know I would say, Sarah, get a better internet connection for where you live. I do apologize if it's a little bit slow. I do live in a rural area, but that's the best thing is that looking ahead and looking back, this is a great way to compare the times.
Yeah, nice. It looks good so far, Sarah. Your audio and your video are lining up so far,
We're
so
lining
it's
up
good.
this time. Okay, great.
So something else we wanted to discuss today was something that I'll call the SDGs. So what that stands for is the Sustainable Development Goals. So back in 2015, the group called the United Nations. So this is where there's people from countries all over the world come together and they have meetings and they try and make some decisions about some things that are going to affect the planet, everybody in the world. So it's not just governments like within a country, it's people from countries all over the world coming together to try and make decisions. And they set back in 2015 that they wanted to try and make some big changes on a global scale, so all over the world. And these big changes were things that should try and happen by the year 2030. So I'm just going to share a tab with you quick here so you can see the image I'm talking about. That should do it. So they looked at all these different things that were happening all over the world and tried to find some things that they noticed were happening in lots of places. So it's not just a problem that's happening in one or two. These are global issues that we are trying to solve. So they set this ambitious goal, like it's like a goal that would be hard to reach, to by the year 2030 to try and solve these 17 global issues. So just to tie in with this idea of a time capsule, try and picture yourself in the year 2030. So from right now, that's like 9 years from
9 years.
now.
That's a
How old will
long
you be
time.
in 9 years? If you're trying to
Well,
think at home, how old? I'm not asking you, Sarah. You don't have to say.
no,
For the kid,
no,
like
I
if
was
I'm
just
thinking of
thinking
my
that.
kids right now, my kids will be my son is 9 right now, so he will be 18. He will just have turned an adult in the year
Wow.
2030. So it's kind
So
of
will
interesting
my
to think
son
about
be.
that.
So,
Yeah.
and I brought a photo of him to add to our time capsule. I'm not so sure if he knows about it, but it's a really great one. It really demonstrates his attitude in a nice way. But when you're in your 30s or you're a grown up, 9 years doesn't seem like such a big span of time. But when you are still growing and developing and going through school, 9 years is a huge difference. So this will be interesting to see when I've made time capsules throughout my whole life. So this is something I've been doing. I have them buried all over my property because I live where I grew up. So
Oh, that's
this is
fun.
going to be another. Yeah, this is going to be another. I actually dug one up to find when I was finding a spot to put this one. So it was very interesting. I didn't bring it for demonstration, but maybe I'll take some photos later.
Nice. That'll be fun to see. So, trying to connect this idea of these sustainable development goals to thinking about our future. So, how things are right now, people often use the word, and scientists are using the word that we are in a climate crisis.
Mhm.
There are so many things changing, like including the Earth's temperature has been rising every year. That if it continues, we'll continue to see more changes happening to the Earth that we won't be able to fix and put back. So the time is now to make these big changes, to change the way that we produce products. So, like the way that factories are run and the way we use and make electricity, all these different things kind of pile up and come together to create the climate crisis. So we have some big choices and changes to make over the next few years if we want to, as normal citizens of Canada, if we want to do our part to try and help the United Nations reach these goals. It's going to take some changes for all of us.
And absolutely. So, just keeping on theme with what we've been looking at for the past couple of weeks there, Jeff, as far as sustainability with growing things from kitchen scraps instead of necessarily buying everything, looking at ways that we can contribute to a better environment, food security, helping our neighbors in our community. This is all, it's great to look back at what was happening this week for us, but also to make sure we leave a message so that when we open this up with our future selves or a family, we look back and say, look, back when I was whatever age, I was working towards helping with these goals.
Yeah, absolutely. I was on the United Nations website this morning, and I just thought this for teachers or just students as well, if you're interested. So on the United Nations website, for each of their 17 goals, they have some pretty nice documents with some hard facts and some truths and some tips as well for ways that we as citizens of the world can make some changes. So worth checking out on the UN.org website.
And a wonderful thing is that even though we are maybe not as physically connected at the moment, we are all global citizens. So whether we're working together as a community or a province, we are working together to make a better future for ourselves. Definitely our children, our children's children, and our generations.
Yeah, it's true. It does take all of us to make these kinds of changes, and it doesn't have to be quiet change either. You can share with others what you're doing and let people know about these things. Because if you ask some people and you said, you know about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, some people might not even have heard of this yet. So it's hard to reach a goal if you haven't heard of the goal. So spreading the word about this stuff is pretty important.
Communication is key.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, you want to make a time capsule, Sarah? You got your stuff ready?
I sure do. I have a really weird assortment of things, but I think that's really a good representation of myself.
Awesome.
So it's very varied, and I am going to be working with something that I can put outside for longevity reasons. I'm going to switch my camera, but I am working with plastic today. So, I was thinking of doing something. I was thinking I'm going to put it underground. I had the one I dug up was something that was metal. So over time, the moisture in the soil had degraded that, corroded the metal. So some of the stuff
Oh,
inside wasn't really so great. But this time I'm going to use this. I think it was a cheese puff thing. I don't know what it was, but the thing is that I'm going to use that, and I have a great assortment of things to put in there, and I'm going to also make a little map for my future self to
ah,
remember where it is because
that's a great
I knew
idea.
the general area from the one from about 20 years ago, but it took a little bit of digging. Luckily, we were digging up to plant some stuff from our gardening episode, so I kind of combined that in one.
Nice. You have to borrow a metal detector or something and see if you can
I
track it
have
down.
one. Yeah,
Do you have one?
exactly.
Oh, that's
I
fun.
do have one, and my son Lennon has a little handheld one, but I'm going to be using plastic today. But there
Mhm.
will be some metal things in there, so it depends on how accurate that metal detector is. But I'm going to make a map this time.
Nice. Yeah, so if you do plan to bury yours, if you have an outdoor space where that's going to work for you, you do want to make sure that it's not going to let water seep in. So like that plastic container, you might even like start put some duct tape around it once it's all sealed up just to help the water stay out so it doesn't seep in over time or in the winter when the ground freezes and hardens up and that kind of stuff. So I am going to be making one that's intended to be hidden inside my house. So we know not everybody has an outdoor space. And so for that, you can hide it inside too. So for me, I'm probably gonna try and find like some top shelf of a closet or somewhere that we don't usually look, so that if it's possible to lose it in my own home, that's going to be the goal. I want to like lose track of this thing and forget about it, so that in the future, I could stumble upon it and it would be something fun to open up and have a look at.
Absolutely. So that's a good option to do. I mean, you don't need to have a big space to bury it. And certainly if you live in an urban area, you can't just, go around burying things in parks. So we want to make sure we
Yeah,
have more than one option.
yeah, it's true. You have to own the property that, that you're burying it on, or maybe a relative or a friend would let you bury it as well.
Exactly.
All right, what do you have for items, Sarah? What are you going with?
Okay, well, I have my business card from Brilliant Labs. This is a one that's like seen better days. It's still accurate, so I'm gonna put that in there. Just this will actually I might even put the date on the sign on here just to say, and I think today is May 18th. Pardon my handwriting and my pen. I may as well put the date. I'm going to write a letter to myself. I guess Sharpie, if you're writing on certain types of different paper, you might want to use a marker and not a pen. I have nail polish that I gave a good friend of mine gave me. I have two of them, so I thought I'd put that in there. Now it is closed up completely so that I can put in there. I don't know why I chose this. I just thought that I really like nail polish, and I haven't had a lot of time a little while to paint my nails. So I thought, well, this would be a nice reminder of what I like to do. I have a recent photo of my son here. I'm going to put that in there. I really like this one because he's looking like a really tough guy for 8, but he's actually a real jokester. I have some minerals that this one's citrine is put into a little sealable container. So it's just a reminder of what he and I both like to collect rocks. A local rock from a beach near our house. Um, this is a special one. So this is a dolphin that we had made together. It's just a little pin. I have several of them. So this is really important. I might actually put this in a bag because even though my plastic container with the duct tape will seal it, wood is something that tends to absorb moisture and degrade or rot over time. I have a penny. So pennies are not something that have really been active recently in our in our market, but I have a lot of them. I thought that I would make a note about that, even though it's not really about what we have today of the penny. I'm going to put that in. I really like owls, so I have a few of these owl barrettes. I haven't decided if I'm going to include that or not. It's really special to me, and that's why I chose it. But I may keep it. I'm not sure. You got to be really careful. So if you're going to bury something outside and you're not so sure on it, and you don't want to really dig it up until it's a couple of years, if you leave a note to yourself and a map, make sure that you want to bury it. I have a 3D printed earring that I lost the other one too. I designed this and made that. So I'm going to include that with a note. That is biodegradable because it's made out of a corn-based filament, PLA. I have a stamp from within the past year. I have a mask. So, just looking back to the past more than a year that we've been wearing masks, this one's too small for my son. So I thought that it would be a good opportunity to put it in there and just make a little note because who knows, maybe we'll be wearing masks in the future, maybe we won't, but that'll be a neat way to kind of represent what we have been doing. A bottle of mainly used up hand sanitizer. And lately, I've been working on a project to replace fuses in my vehicle. And I brought one of the fuses that I took out to put it there because that's something that I've been really working with my son and learning how to do to kind of repair some things that are not working in my vehicle. And I thought that we spent so much time, it'd be neat to include that fuse in there. And then, of course, I have a piece of paper that I'm going to write my future self and my son a message on.
Cool. I love the idea of the fuse. Just like thinking about something that you are interested in learning more about and that you've kind of been focusing on this year. So that's kind of cool. I like that addition.
Yeah, so hopefully by the time that I dig this up, I'll have fixed the problem with my car.
I have some of the same types of things. I found so in my mail, the flyers came from a restaurant. So I thought that might just be a fun way to show what things cost in the year 2021. So when I look back, it'd be like, when I think about when I was a kid, things were much cheaper. So it's kind of interesting to think about how prices change over time. So I had some coupons I wanted to put in. I have a craft from both of my kids. And like Sarah, I also have a coin and a stamp ready to go. And just a couple of my hobby related things, kind of like Sarah had too. I have a guitar pick and also something that's off my 3D printer. So this is made out of
Oh,
plastic.
I recognize that turtle from one of your read
Yeah,
alouds,
it's
I
been
believe.
around. It's
And
been
you
from
play
another
guitar.
session.
Wow, that's a great. I would put a guitar pick in there, but I always lose and end up using a bread tag. And it's been a while since I played guitar, so I guess we're gonna go with the fuse. But nice selection. And you know what? Now I'm thinking it'd be good to have a flyer with a date. But we'll go ahead and do this, and maybe I'll grab something.
Yeah. So teachers, I did share a bit of a list of things that you could include in the writing, but I just thought I'm not going to write my whole letter right now, but just to kind of think about some ideas for things that students could be adding in their letter, you might write something like a paragraph about yourself, to say about me. So you could write about your hobbies, your favorite movies, books, or songs that you like right now. Write a little bit about your family, and it might be fun in 8 years or more to see what kind of music you liked when you were a kid and how different that is. So a little bit about yourself is great. Like Sarah was saying, we can explain the items.
I do know that when I had unearthed some of my previous time capsules, this is something I really enjoyed doing when I was throughout my life. I was a little confused as to what some of the things were, mainly because they had gotten wet. But I don't think I didn't include. If I did, it fell apart. A note of what things were. So it is a good idea, and to send a message like Jeff and I were talking about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals to look back and remind ourselves where we are with completing those and helping our community, our family, the world, and then look forward and see where we have gone from there. So I love that climate change, my hopes.
Yeah. So my hopes for 2030 and the future in general, I guess, maybe I'll put that. That's kind of fun to think about, when you're a kid, what you think you're going to do when you grow up, or what you want to be or accomplish, and then when you're an adult, to kind of it's just can be kind of funny or interesting to see how your ideas have stayed the same or changed. And I'm also going to add a question about the future. So if you could ask yourself a question, what would you ask your future self?
Ooh, that's a good one. Sometimes I get a bit of writer's block, so to get my kind of creativity going, I might even just make note of what the weather's like, and then that will kind of move me into direction. So it's beautiful and sunny today. We have a lot of May flies out there, so my future self would probably still be a little bit bothered by them, but also what are the things going on around the world right now, and what how do we feel about that? And what might we suggest that could help other people?
Yeah, that's great. I think we got through it all. So I'll say it now. So teachers, I know there's a 30-second delay on the YouTube. If any teachers that are on our call or are not on our call want to pop over and ask or share anything that's come up in their class, I'll just give you that minute to be able to do so. Just unmute, and we'd love to hear from you. But I'm going to start packaging mine up while we do that, Sarah.
Let's
If you're
do
going to
it.
put yours inside your jar. So I've just got this cardboard box. I could decorate this box too. That could be a fun activity.
That could be. So I was actually taking the label off. If you're working with a glass or plastic container, you can soak it to remove the label. But this is actually kind of perfect because it didn't fully come off, and I could take a Sharpie or marker and put a little label on there to future Sarah and the date. And that may or may not come off when it's buried. But I'm gonna put this, like you mentioned, Jeff, to duct tape it and then put the whole thing in a bag even. So again, I'm using plastics, but everything I'm using today is recycled.
Nice.
I just want to make sure that when I open this up in 5, 10, 15 years that I can do not open till 2030. That's right. That's
So
great.
good message, a little reminder. Like, what is this
Exactly.
box? Oh, wait, put it back. Don't open it.
And you don't have to wait until you don't have to wait. If you're burying it or hiding it in your house, you can draw a map too, because things change too. If you want to draw a map, like a layout of what your house looks like with your doors and windows, but where furniture is in 5 years, that may change very much. I'm going to draw a map of my yard, and I do know that that's going to change. So it'll be interesting to have my map for myself, somewhere where I'm going to be able to find it, not under the ground, maybe even like a version of it within the time capsule to see how that might have changed. Who knows? I'm kind of notorious for losing things, so be interesting to put that in the jar too. A map in the jar doesn't help me outside of the jar, but it'd be interesting to still use it as a record of what things were, the layout was like.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
We have a
Yeah, it's
question
easy.
here.
It's hard to track down hidden things in a yard, I guess. Oh, do we have something in the chat? Perfect.
Yeah, Naomi from 34 Kent is wondering if you can put anything in the box. Wow. Well, Jeff, what are your
I have one. I have one to avoid. I would avoid anything that has a battery. So if it has a battery in it, so anything electronic would not probably be
yes.
a good thing, because if you've ever like found an old battery, even just like in a cupboard, sometimes the acids inside can leak out a little bit. So it can be a little bit dangerous potentially, and we wouldn't want those things leaking outside into the ground as well, especially. So anything with a battery, I would suggest
And actually,
leaving
that's a
out.
very good point, because a lot of people don't know, but I have a couple friends who are volunteer firefighters, and they say that one of the main causes of fires and within landfills are batteries that aren't properly disposed of. So you can't just throw batteries in the garbage or even have them sitting in your junk drawer, which I have been guilty of doing in the past. But even if you think that they're not active anymore, they should properly be taken to your local Enviro Depot, or look online where you can dispose of this, because they can be really dangerous as far as a fire starter.
We were kind of putting in some personal items. Anything that you're putting in there, especially if you're going to bury it in the yard, you'd probably want to check with an adult around and make sure that it's okay with them too. Because I've picked items that they're special to me, but they're not things that I'm going to be like looking for. Like, oh, I really wish I had that one 3D printed thing that I made. Like I'm choosing items that are special and will remind me of something, but they're not like expensive or, a family heirloom that was passed down or anything. So
That's
just
right.
ask permission
And
before you
you
put
brought a
things in there,
good
maybe.
you brought up a good point, Jeff, is that even though I mentioned I have a business card with my information on there, that's I'm an adult and that's readily available on the internet. But you may want to make sure that the information that if you're putting it outside of your house, that your parents are okay with what you write down too, because you never know. Somebody else may find it. We always want to be aware that we have to be secure and safe about our.
Anybody else on the call have any questions or things that came up in your class Google Meets?
I've just decided I'm going to keep my owl barrette, because I just that's a good example of that. Well, this is something I love, owls and I love barrettes, but I think that once I dig a hole to put this into, and I'm thinking, oh, I really wish I kept the owls. So
You
that's
miss
good.
it.
Good, yeah, exactly. So make sure you make a good decision on what you put in there. So I'm going to keep owl.
Nice. Well, we really hope that we get to see some of your letters or the things that you guys choose to put in. So if you can share pictures that don't have personal stuff on them, but if you can share things with your teachers, we would love to see what you guys do for this. We do have some questions rolling in. Liam's wondering what to put in it. So we were suggesting things like you could write yourself a letter. You could put in some artwork that you did. Put some things that are like signs of the time. So maybe some money or a restaurant menu, or you can even just make a list of how much things cost. Like how much does it cost for, to buy a bag of apples in 2021? Like what do things cost this time of era at this point? So just things like that. Things that are kind of might be interesting to see or hear or learn about when you're a little bit older.
Exactly. And if you're a coder or you're into robotics or tech, maybe you can add some of your favorite platforms like apps, or if you do Scratch. By the way, we have a Scratch challenge coming up for all of you Scratchers out there. Just a little plug there. But whatever you like to do, it doesn't have to be technology, but makers. So put what you love to do and maybe what your favorite thing is, and then looking forward how that might have progressed or developed further. Maybe you'll be the one making those apps and platforms.
It's true.
Jeff and Sarah, this is Anita from 34 Kent.
Hi.
Hi. Tommy is wondering if clothing would be appropriate to put in. Like
Hmm.
maybe I'm thinking Tommy's a huge hockey fan.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Again, if there's permission from the family, like something to do with your hobbies is a great idea. Yeah.
and
I
if
would
you
want maybe something that's like getting a little bit smaller. You don't wear much anymore, but
well, that's what I was gonna say. If you're going to put a whole jersey in there, that might be difficult. But if you had one that you had permission to cut up, you could always put a piece of it in there and maybe put a note on like your favorite game or something about that year that if you're like I said, if it's a sports team, something that why it's
yeah.
in there. And if you're burying it, then certainly, like I said, put it in something that's not gonna kind of like, with time fall apart. But that's such a great idea, Tommy.
Hockey
Thank
cards
you.
would be a great way to show some sports,
Yeah,
Oh
the stuff
God,
true.
you're into. You know,
Yeah.
a
yeah.
Pokemon card or some other hobby that you're into like that would be a great addition. Yeah,
Perfect. Thank you.
our pleasure. All right. Well, it's 9:30.
It's 9:30. This
Let
is
people keep to
exciting.
their schedules at home, and
We
well,
can't, yeah, we can't wait to hear what other people are going to put in there, and please do share with us. Thanks, Jeff. It's such a great idea doing this week.
oh, this is
Oh,
fun. Oh, one
one more
more
question.
is wondering about putting something with wires. I think,
Ooh.
well, it sounds okay to me. I just wouldn't want the batteries and stuff in there, I guess. But especially, yeah, I don't know. It's a good
Wires,
question.
wires would be okay. So,
It's in there. It's in your kit, so
yeah, so no batteries, wires. So I'd have to know what kind of wires, but as long as there's nothing for a power source, that should be fine. I guess we'd have a little need to have a little bit more information, and of course, again, you have to have permission to put it in there, and depending on where you're storing it. So even if it was wired, I mean, stored in your home, you still want to be conscious of what that was near. But I mean, it really depends case by case. If you're not sure, you can always reach out to us. You can have your teacher or parents tweet at us or contact us, and we can do our best to advise you of that.
all right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us this morning. This was a lot of fun, and we hope to see you again in future sessions. So keep an eye out for what's coming next week.
Exactly.
And
So have a great day to your present self and to your future self.
yeah. Bye, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye. Thanks.